Hello, good morning, guys. As we have to start with this LC oscillators now, let me have a review what we had in last lecture. If you remember, we have discussed that LC tank circuit. Is it one capacitor and one inductor is in parallel and they produce some frequency. Is it? They produce a signal. If they produce a sustained oscillations, this is capacitor and this is inductor, then it has some frequency. Is it? And what is that frequency? We generally call it as a resonant frequency. And even we have derived equation for that resonant frequency also. You remember that equation? It is 1 divided by it is under root LC. That's what. Okay, let me settle everything. So that's what we had in our last lecture. Now see, it is visible. Yes, it's quite okay. Let me have that. It's finally settled. So the resonant frequency, every capacitor and inductor, if you connect them in parallel, what we call it as a tank circuit. So that tank circuit produces some frequency, we call it as a resonant frequency, and even we had the equation for that. Now see, if it is producing a sine wave, if it is producing a frequency, why not to connect that tank circuit in a feedback network? So let me connect this in a feedback network. Look at this, what we have. This is what my amplifier is, and this is a feedback network. What we call it as the whole system, we referred it as an oscillator. Is it? Look at this. This is what my oscillator. The amplifier's output is connected to the feedback network, and again feedback network is connected to the amplifier. That's what. Now here, this is what my feedback network. Now I will connect a tank circuit here. I'll connect a tank circuit. So eventually what I'm doing, basically I'm connecting a capacitor inductor circuit as a feedback network, and that's why those oscillators are called LC oscillators. So what are the feedback components? Inductor and capacitor. See, we have studied RC oscillators also. In that we have studied Wien-Bridge oscillator and RC phase shift oscillator. So in Wien-Bridge and RC phase shift oscillator, if you observe their feedback network, only resistor and capacitors were there. Now here it is LC type of oscillators. In LC type of oscillators, there must be inductor and capacitor as a feedback components. Right? So depend on that we have classified now RC oscillators and LC oscillators. If I am using capacitor and inductor in the feedback network, it becomes LC oscillator, and if I am connecting capacitor and resistor in a feedback network, they are RC oscillators. And see, RC oscillators are generally low frequency oscillators, and this LC oscillators we refer it as an high frequency oscillators. So why we are calling them as an high frequency oscillators? Because of inductor and capacitor. Inductor and capacitor or the tank circuit can produce higher and higher frequencies, which is not possible with the resistor and capacitor. This pair cannot produce higher frequencies, but this pair, inductor and capacitor, they have that ability to produce higher frequency. So that's why those are higher frequency oscillators. Now let me classify that LC oscillators. Already we had discussion about that LC oscillators. First is Hartley oscillators, Hartley, Hartley oscillator, and the second one is Colpitts oscillator. Is it? So if those are, I am referring it as an LC oscillators, it means in their feedback network I have to use inductor and capacitor. We'll have some configurations of inductors and capacitors, but inductor and capacitors are must in the feedback network, and the amplifier will remain same. It is a single stage common emitter RC coupled amplifier. That's what we'll use CE amplifier as an amplifier circuit, and a feedback network must contain capacitor and inductor. That's what the constraint is. It now we will configure capacitor and inductor, like if I can use two capacitors, one inductor, or I can use two inductors and one capacitors. It depends. If I have two inductors and one capacitor, the configuration will be different. I'll call it as an Hartley oscillator. If I'm using two capacitors, one inductors, then I will call it as an Colpitts oscillator. See, now how to configure that capacitor and inductor, or how to connect them instead. I have two options. See, one is this, that is I will use one and two capacitor. Look at this, two capacitors and one inductor. Look at this, this is also a tank circuit. Now here in between two capacitors I am connecting ground. I will call this as C1, I will call this as C2, and this is inductor L. So this tank circuit that I have drawn here, it is called split capacitor. See, I am splitting capacitor, one capacitor split into two parts, C1 and C2. Is that so? This is what a split capacitor, split capacitor. Like this, I have another configuration where I am going to split inductor instead of capacitor. Look at this, I will have inductor and then only one capacitor. Now my thing is I will split that inductor. See, as like center tap transformer, I have split that inductor, and upper part I will call it as L1, the lower part is L2, and only one capacitor. See what I said here, two capacitors, one inductor, but here two inductors and one capacitor. This is another configuration, is it? And the amplifier will remain same. It is common emitter single stage RC coupled amplifier. So if I use common emitter amplifier with this type of feedback network, then the oscillator circuit that I am getting is my Colpitts. I will call it as an Colpitts oscillator. And if I am using common emitter amplifier with this configuration of tank circuit, then my oscillator circuit will be Hartley oscillator. Hartley oscillator. That is the only difference. The rest of the things are completely same. See, use this, you will get Colpitts oscillator. Use this, you will get Hartley oscillator. And the amplifier will remain same. Common emitter single stage RC coupled amplifier. Is that? So which one to start then? Hartley or Colpitts? It's on us. So let us start with Hartley oscillator. Why? Because Colpitts oscillator, we have done this experiment in lab. So that's why let's go for Hartley oscillator. Try to understand that Hartley oscillator first. So let us write a title as Hartley oscillator. Let me write it here, Hartley, Hartley oscillator. Let me manage this. Hartley oscillator. So if you are there, then draw the circuit diagram with me. Obviously the amplifier will remain same. Look at this, I will draw the amplifier here. Yes, one collector resistor, and then this is what my transistor. Look at this capacitor, emitter capacitor. Then let me draw two biasing resistors. This is R1, this is R2. Somewhere I need to connect it to the base. Yes, here I am connecting collector resistor. This is R1, this is R2, this is RE and CE. Look at this, single stage RC coupled amplifier is ready now. Is that with the biasing circuits? Now here at the collector where I am taking output, is it at the collector, what I will do, if I am calling it as an coupling capacitor, then at the collector I will connect tank circuit. Where in Hartley oscillator? Yes, it means two inductors and one capacitor. Let me connect that inductor here. and one capacitor is there. Here somewhere I will connect a ground, or let me split them as L1, and this is L2, this is capacitor C. Now see, here is the ground of an amplifier. Now output of this tank circuit has to be connected back to the input of an amplifier. Look at this. Here I am connecting output back to the input. Is it? So where you will check output? Yes, you have option check the output voltage here. Here you connect plus VCC, and this is a complete diagram for my Hartley oscillators. This split inductor is there, one capacitor. So that split inductor and one capacitor, this feedback network, let me show that. This feedback network will provide 180-degree phase shift. 180-degree phase shift with respect to the output voltage. So this is providing 180-degree phase shift. Remaining 180-degree phase shift is provided by the amplifier. So total phase shift will become 360 and the Barkhasen's criteria can be satisfied. See, 180-degree phase shift is provided by the feedback network. Two inductors, one capacitor. Remaining 180 by the amplifier, 360 is done. And you can adjust the gain of an amplifier such that A multiplied by beta should be greater than or equals to 1, and that is a very simple task. We know that, we have studied Wien Bridge and RC phase shift oscillator also. So that condition is so simple, we can satisfy anyhow by V itself. 180-degree phase shift is provided by this, remaining 180 by this, and things will be done. It means this circuit can satisfy the Barkhasen's criteria, and if this circuit is satisfying Barkhasen's criteria, this circuit will give us sustained oscillations at the output. Look at this, like this. So at the output you will get sustained oscillations. Okay. So one thing we have studied related to that tank circuit is, when you connect capacitor and inductor in parallel in a tank circuit, what they produce? They produce sustained oscillations. They produce sustained oscillations all the time? No. If you don't remember, watch my previous lecture on the tank circuit. See, the tank circuit gives us oscillations, but after some time, as time goes on, what you will get? You will get those kind of, what we call it as underdamped oscillations. Is it the magnitude or the amplitude of that signal which is produced by that tank circuit goes on decreasing? Why this is happening? Why this degradation is there always? Because we never use ideal capacitor or ideal inductor. See, capacitor and inductor that we are using in tank circuit, they were not ideal. Now, if they were ideal, then obviously there will be definitely sustained oscillations. Output voltage or the magnitude will never goes on decreasing. But the ideal components are not there. If I consider inductor, then there is a resistive loss. If I consider practical inductor, then there is a resistive loss, and if I consider practical capacitor, there is a dielectric loss. So because of that dielectric loss and because of that resistive loss, I am getting this underdamped oscillations. Is it? So this thing has to be avoided. Is it? And we had a discussion about that, how to avoid that. Is that if output voltage is decreasing after some time, what do you do then? You provide some extra voltage to the tank circuit. Is it? So if I am saying that this is my tank circuit in a box and this tank circuit is producing output voltage something like that, underdamped, then if you connect some extra voltage to that tank circuit, then tank circuit will automatically gives us sustained oscillations. Is it not? Yes, it means what we need to provide some fixed voltage after a certain time to the tank circuit. Because I know कि after some time वो decrease होने वाला है. अगर वो decrease होने वाला है, so एक 5 मिनट के बाद, 10 मिनट के बाद, और after certain time, I'm just telling you an example, 5 मिनट, 10 मिनट, but the things will never be like that. So after some time, we have to provide some extra voltage just to stimulate the tank circuit. is it? So it means अगर वो degrade हो रहा है, will apply some extra voltage and will stimulate the tank circuit and it will produce a sustained oscillations like a train of a sine wave. Continuous sine wave will be produced by this tank circuit, is it? Now this thing applying an extra voltage to the tank circuit to produce sustained oscillations, that job is done by the amplifier here in this Hartley oscillator, even in the Colpitts oscillator. Look at tank circuit itself produces, look at this tank circuit, let me show you with this green pen. This tank circuit itself produces some voltage, itself produces a signal, itself produces a sine wave, but after some time the sine wave will go decreasing, and if I want sustained oscillations, let me stimulate the tank circuit. Stimulate the tank circuit means apply some extra voltage, external voltage, and that job is done by this amplifier circuit, is it? Like this, after a certain period, tank circuit takes voltage from the amplifier and adjusts its output to the sustained waveforms. Look at this, you will get sustained waveforms always. There. Now the question is, I am talking about the decrement in the amplitude of voltage or the wave produced by the tank circuit, and the amplitude I am adjusting with the help of amplifier. Yes. Why I am telling you that? Because I know the theory of tank circuit. We had discussions so many times about the theory of tank circuit. Is that it's all about the amplitude degradation and how to maintain the amplitude, that is the amplitude stability. Now the question is, what about frequency? Because generally we design oscillator for a certain frequency, is that? So that frequency, it is obviously depend on the inductor that I am using here, L1 and L2, and the value of capacitor. By changing the value of inductor and capacitor, I can change the frequency, because that frequency is nothing but a resonant frequency of a tank circuit, and that resonant frequency is always depend on the components that I am using in a tank circuit, that is L1 and L2 and the capacitor C, is it? So now roughly I can conclude that amplitude stability of this Hartley oscillator and even for the Colpitts oscillator is managed by the amplifier. Yes, it is okay, but the frequency of oscillations are completely depend on the value of inductor and the capacitor that I am using here. It is done. Whether really that frequency is depend on the components that I am using in a tank circuit. Yes, it is. We will derive that equation, is it, under the title frequency of oscillations for this Hartley oscillator, that we need to derive afterwards. But everybody, as at second year stage, what people want? People want the operation of the circuit. So we cannot write the operation in two lines, that amplifier produces some voltage and that voltage is given to the tank circuit and tank circuit manages its amplitude by using that voltage. We cannot write like this, is it? Somewhere we have to start with from where the tank circuit is getting its initial voltage or something, is it? So let us start with this. When you turn on this VCC, you connect the circuit on the breadboard and turn on this VCC. Whenever you turn on this VCC, what will happen? See, VCC is connected to that collector, some RC, some collector current will flow here, that IC, and that IC will obviously flow through this inductors L1 and L2. So when you turn on VCC, some current will flow through this inductor. That current, is it? That current is generally referred as transient current. That is transient current. Why transient? Because suddenly it comes, so it produces a transient current, and because of that transient current, some voltage is developed across this L2, the inductor which is connected at the lower side, is it? So that inductor which is connected at the lower side, some voltage is developed. This voltage is what my feedback voltage, because see, that voltage is fed back to the input, na? So the voltage across L2, I will call it as an feedback voltage. And what about voltage across L1? I will call it as an output voltage. So because this is output voltage I am taking, and what about L2? This is what feedback voltage. Is it? So when you turn on VCC, some current, transient current will flow through L2, and because of that transient current, this VF is developed. No matter what's the value of VF, that is feedback voltage, it is very small, but that small voltage is fed back or again applied as an input to the amplifier. Now what amplifier's job? Obviously whatever it is getting as an input, amplifier has to amplify. So again that amplifier will amplify that voltage and gives back to the tank circuit. So the current through the tank circuit again increases. Is it? Again some voltage, that is VF, will again increase. Again increased voltage fed back to the amplifier. Again this voltage increases. Again VF increases. Again fed back to the amplifier. Look at this. Isn't it a regenerative feedback? Is it? So this increases because of the input increases. Again because of that VF increases. Because of that input increases. Again VF increases. Like this the cycle continues, and after a certain time you will get sustained oscillations at the output. Is it? At a near resonance you will get sustained oscillations. Sustained oscillations means stable amplitude with stable frequency. It is because of this L1, L2 and capacitor C. What they produce is they produce a resonant frequency, and the stabilization of that resonant frequency is done by this L1, L2 and C, and the amplitude stabilization is done by the amplifier itself. Yes, and that's what the only operation of this Hartley oscillator, is it? So I'm telling you in detail about this Hartley oscillator because I'm not going to tell you the same thing in Colpitts oscillator. There we will just draw the circuit diagram and we'll remember what we have studied in Hartley oscillator. We'll start designing of that Colpitts oscillator immediately. Is that? So what is the thing? Transient current. You turn on VCC, transient current flows through L2, that is VF developed across L2, VF get applied to the input, again the output current increases, that is again transient current increases, again VF increases, again input voltage increases, the cycle repeats, and somewhere at the output after some time you will get a sustained oscillations. Is it? Yes, and that's what the operation of this Hartley oscillator. You will have same thing in Colpitts oscillator, because there what I will have two capacitors and one inductor. Yes, that's what it is. Now here two inductors, one capacitor. There you have two capacitors and one inductor. That's what I hope now this thing is clear about that Hartley oscillator. Now people call it a Hartley oscillator, Hartley's oscillator, whatever the thing is. Now okay, that's what the operation. But remember, we need to discuss about the frequency of oscillation. So I will write title. Let me change the pen. I will write title as frequency of oscillations. Frequency of oscillations for Hartley oscillator. Yes, you write down title as frequency of oscillations. We have to derive the equation of frequency of oscillations. Now see, the frequency, I told you that it is dependent on the value of L and C, is it? Now the frequency of oscillations that can be derived with the help of only feedback network. Yes, with the help of only feedback network. So let me draw the feedback network. Is there a need to draw the feedback network again? It's not needed, I think. Is that? So frequency of oscillations is dependent on what? Inductor as well as this capacitor. Now what we will do, what I have basically there, two inductors. Generally I try to avoid the drawing of inductor on the screen, because see, showing that rounded structure is always difficult. Okay, the L1, L2 and the capacitor. See, this is what our feedback network, what I have. Now I am interested in total impedance. total impedance. So what will be the total impedance offered by this tank circuit? Obviously inductance offered by the L1, again inductor offered by impedance offered by this L2, and the impedance offered by the capacitor. That's what. So total impedance, let me call it as total impedance as Z. So let's derive total impedance Z. Now what is the total impedance? Total impedance is the impedance offered by two inductors and one capacitors. Now the question is, why I'm doing this with Z? Why I'm calculating Z? Why I'm interested in total impedance? Because it is a tank circuit. So what happens in tank circuit? Energy is exchanged. Look at this. A capacitor has electrostatic energy and the inductor has magnetic energy. Electrostatic, electromagnetic. So that electrostatic energy get converted into magnetic energy. That magnetic energy get converted into electrostatic energy. Like this, capacitor and inductors, they transfer energy to each other. Is it? They transfer energy to and from each other. So that's why it is exchange of energy. So whenever there is an exchange of energy, obviously it is possible only when they try to match the impedance. Is it? When impedance matches, then only it is possible. So that's why I'm interested in the Z, because at resonant, that is when XC is equals to XL. Look at this. When XC is equals to XL, I'm getting a sustained oscillations. That is what a resonance is. We are not going into the detail of resonance. We have studied in network analysis or linear circuits, I don't remember, but this is a resonance. XC is equals to XL. So at resonance, impedance is equals to minimum. Z is minimum at resonance. That thing is known. And I'm interested at resonance. So that's why I'm calculating this Z. So let me calculate Z instead of wasting time. Z is equals to what? Impedance offered by this L1, that is L1. What I'm writing here? Inductive reactance. Plus I will write inductive reactance of L2, capacitive reactance XC. I think that is okay because people will understand the summation. Just check my writing is not proper, it's not going straight. I will try to write straight. Now look at this, it is J omega L1 plus J omega L2 plus 1 divided by J omega C. That's what it is. J omega is here, J omega is here, but J omega at the denominator. So let me take that J omega in the numerator. J omega L2. Now here I will get minus J omega divided by, now here what I need to write, I have to write omega multiplied by omega, that means omega square C. Just check whether I'm, yes, now it is possible that I can take out this J omega as a common thing. So let me write it down, J omega, then L1 plus L2 minus 1 divided by omega square C. Just check that is okay. This is what my Z is it, but the twist is now here. Now this is total impedance of a tank circuit. This is total impedance of a tank circuit. But one thing I know that at resonance, total impedance is minimum. Minimum I will consider ideally as 0. Resonance Z is equals to 0 or Z becomes 0 because at resonance X is equals to XL. If it is a parallel capacitor and inductor, then Z becomes 0. that impedance becomes 0. So when I am saying that impedance is equals to 0, what I am intended to write here, then I will write that j omega multiply by this L1 plus L2 minus 1 divided by omega square c, that whole thing will become 0. It means now here I can write L2 minus 1 divided by omega square equals to 0, or simply what I can write, L1 plus L2 is equals to 1 divided by omega square c. I'm just simplifying this thing. Then I will write here omega square will be 1 divided by c multiplied by L1 plus L2. Now what is that omega? It is 2 pi f. So I will write 2 pi f bracket square will be 1 divided by c, that is L1 plus L2. Now what is f then? Now this is equals to, so see, everywhere I am writing L1 plus L2, L1 plus L2. So why not to keep this L1 plus L2 is equals to L equivalent? Modify the equation again. Every time it becomes hectic to write L1 plus L2. So let me modify the equation. I will write now 2 pi f, that is omega square, is equals to 1 divided by c multiplied by L equivalent. Now see, things are okay. Every time put a bracket and write down L1 plus L2. No, I'll write L equivalent, where I will write where L equivalent is equals to L1 plus L2. I'm just simplifying the thing, nothing else. Now I can write the equation for f. Now f will be 1 divided by, now look at this, 2 pi will come here. It will be 2 pi, yes, 2 pi underscore under root, it is c multiplied by L equivalent, and that will be, yes, it is done. Let me have a small bracket for that. Yes, and this is what frequency of oscillations for Hartley oscillator, f is equals to 1 divided by 2 pi c multiplied by L equivalent. See, from this equation itself one can recognize that what will be the frequency of oscillation for Colpitts oscillator. Why? Because in Hartley oscillator we have two inductors, so I am writing L equivalent. In Colpitts oscillator I will have two capacitors. The equation will remain same. F is equals to 1 divided by 2 pi under root L equivalent, sorry, L multiplied by C equivalent, because there are two capacitors. I will, instead of writing C1 plus C2, I will write C equivalent. Okay, we'll see those things later on. First, let me conclude here that this is the frequency of oscillations, 1 divided by 2 pi C multiplied by L equivalent. So what is that L equivalent? It is an addition or summation of L1 and L2, is it? See, we have derived the frequency of oscillations, but this is not the end, is it? That's not the end. Why I'm saying that? Because see, Barkhasen's criteria, I said we can easily satisfy Barkhasen's criteria. Easily, I just said that 180 degree phase shift is provided by the feedback network, remaining 180 degree phase shift is provided by the amplifier, total phase shift will be 360, one criteria satisfied. The amplifier, obviously it will gives us a gain of a feedback network as well as the amplifier, that is A beta will be obviously greater than 1, that I just said orally, is it? So instead of now telling the things orally, let me have some analysis related to that gain also, because see, Barkhasen's criteria, what it said that A multiplied by beta should be greater than or equals to 1, that's what, or simply A should be greater than 1 divided by beta. That's what actually Barkhasen's criteria. Now to satisfy Barkhasen's criteria, first I need to calculate the value beta, is it? Because the gain of amplifier, that is A, yes, I can calculate easily because it just a transistorized or BJT common emitter amplifier. So it is possible for us to calculate A. What about beta? I can't calculate beta because there are two inductors, one capacitor. a split inductor tank circuit. That split inductor is generally called auto transformer. Is it? We will not enter into the world of auto transformer. What is no, 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 no. We will not enter there. For the time being, beta is just a gain of feedback network for us, and my job is to calculate the value of beta. So let us have some analysis related to that beta also. So first I will try to draw an equivalent circuit. For example, see, this is what my amplifier. This is amplifier. At the output of amplifier, there is a tank circuit. So let me draw the tank circuit also. Again, inductor. Yes, this is inductor, and this is capacitor. Split inductor is there. It means this is okay. This is L1. This is L2. And what else? Okay, this has to be connected. Oh, sorry guys. It's quite okay now, is it? If you want to, okay. What I will do, I will draw a mixer here so that I can show that this is what my feedback voltage coming to the amplifier. Here it is output voltage. This is capacitor C. That's what. Now see, the thing is, I'm interested in beta. That's what my interest is, beta. So this is a feedback network that I have drawn with the two inductors and one capacitor. Now this voltage, let me change the pen. Okay, the voltage across L2, this voltage, what I referred this as an feedback voltage. Look at this, because this is what the feedback I am getting. And the voltage across inductor L1, I referred it as an output voltage. Is it? So this is VO for me and this is VF for me. So to calculate beta, what I need, beta means what? Gain of a feedback network. Means what output is provided by the feedback network and what is the input to the feedback network. So output of an amplifier, obviously that will be the input for the feedback network. So I am keeping it in denominator. So VF by VO is the clear equation that I am writing. See, the voltage developed across this inductor L1 and inductor L2, that I am considering. Right. So one thing I know, that if I am considering voltage, so what basic Ohm said, V is equals to IR. That's what. Is it? Now this R, for us it is inductor L. Is it? We'll just consider as an equivalency. Right. For us that R is nothing but my L, and same current, this I is current, na? But here the same current is flowing through L1 and L2, so this is I. So what I can write roughly, it is not good to write as like I multiply by VF means what? L2 divided by I multiply by L1. So I am telling you, this is not the correct way to write something, but just to understand the analysis, let us write something like that. I multiply by L2, I multiply by L1. So what is that I? Where I will write I is the current flowing through both inductors. That's what, where I is the current flowing through the both inductors. So can I cancel that I, and can I write that beta is equals to L2 divided by L1? Yes, I can write beta is equals to L2 divided by L1, because current I is same, which is flowing through R1 and L2 and L1. So finally what I'm getting beta is equals to L2 divided by L1. Now what Barkhasen said, again come to the point, Barkhasen said A beta should be greater than or equals to 1. Now A multiply by, what's the value of beta? It is equals to L2 divided by L1, that should be greater than or equals to 1. It means A should be greater than or equals to L1 divided by L2. Yes, and that is what the thing I need to satisfy if I want to design Hartley oscillator. Is it? gain of your amplifier must be greater than or equals to the ratio of inductors that you are connecting in the feedback network. Is it that from where I'm getting from? I'm getting this. Sorry, I'm getting this from Bark-Hussein's criteria. Is it? So if I satisfy Bark-Hussein's criteria, or if I want to satisfy Bark-Hussein's criteria, one thing you need to keep in mind that gain of your amplifier that must be greater than or equals to the ratio of inductors that you have connected. Is it? Now same thing is applicable for Colpitts oscillator. See, I'm telling you the reference every time because in case of Colpitts oscillator we are not going to repeat the same things again and again because your two circuits are same, amplifier will be same, even the design of an amplifier will be same. Is it? So that in case of a Colpitts oscillator, what the thing will be there? A should be greater than C1 divided by C2, maybe. Is it? So it is the ratio of capacitors. Now here it is the ratio of inductors that I need to consider. Is it? So now this is what the actual analysis for the Hartley oscillator. Is it? See, we have studied the circuit diagram, its operation, then we started with the frequency of oscillations, and finally we are concluding with a criteria that gain of an amplifier should be greater than the ratio of two inductors. Is it? So what remains after that? Yes, now it is possible for us to start with design. Yes, to start with design of Hartley oscillator. Yes, that's what I need to start with, design of Hartley oscillator. So probably in next few seconds we will start with the design of Hartley oscillator. Let's have a small break and then we'll start with design of Hartley oscillators. Okay, let's have some break. So welcome back guys after the break. So here we supposed to start with the design of Hartley oscillator. Right. So now see, we'll consider a design statement and then I'll tell you how easy the things are. For example, we have to design that amplifier only. Look at this, design single stage amplifier, and then we have to design a feedback network. Is it? It is just a single stage common emitter amplifier, and we are already aware with the process how to design that. Is it? So instead of wasting time on the design of amplifier, I'll just give you some clues and then we'll start with designing of feedback network and we'll conclude that design procedure. Is it? When we start, you will come to know that things are too much simple actually. So let us write the design statement as let me write question. If you are there with me, then write the question with me. Design Hartley oscillator for following specifications. Right. Design Hartley oscillator for following specifications, and those are the specifications. Output voltage VO. Let me write here VO, which is given, that is 2 volt RMS. After that, it is frequency of oscillations is given. Let me check how much frequency they have given. Okay, it is 2.5 megahertz. Mega means 10 raised to 6. What else they have given? I think they have given transistors data, that is HFE is equals to, let me check, it is 330. After that HIE is also given, let me check, it is 4.5 kilo ohm. And what else they have specified? The output voltage and the frequency, HFE, HIE, that's what transistor data they have specified. After that, now let us start with, first you keep some space to draw the circuit diagram. We are not going to waste time here to draw the circuit diagram again and again. Now our first job is to design amplifier. Is it? And the design procedure of amplifier is well known to us. अभी तो हमें वो actually रट हो गया है कि कितने time हमने amplifier design किए. We have designed amplifier in RC phase shift oscillator. We have designed amplifier in Weinbridge oscillator. Even in Colpitts also we have designed the same amplifier thing. Is it? The procedure will remain same that already we have learned in the last semester. We have designed single stage RC coupled common emitter amplifier so many times, is it? So I'll just give you some clues and then you write down your own calculations. As it is an amplifier, see what you have studied in last semester related to design of that amplifier is I can design amplifier when gain is given. When gain is given. But in that case, the output voltage is given, the frequency is given, HFE, HI, gain is not given at all. So in that case, for example, if somebody want to design a C amplifier with the same references as he had in last semester, that is in semester 1. In semester 1, we have designed voltage amplifier with the reference of gain. But here gain is not given and someone insists or someone says that I want to design amplifier with gain. Because he want to follow the same process as he had in last semester. In that case, yes, there is the option. What you do, you assume the gain of an amplifier. See, I told you that you are the designer, you are free to assume any suitable value. See, I am intentionally using that word suitable. That suitability is very much important. We had a discussion about that suitability in case of Wien bridge oscillator. I think even at the time of RC phase shift oscillator we had a discussion about suitability of component, is it? So you can assume the gain which is suitable to your amplifier and then go ahead. Okay, let's start with the same thing. We'll assume the gain and then we'll move towards. Let's design common emitter amplifier, and then for that what you do, assume gain of an amplifier is equals to 50, and this is what my biggest assumption. Assume gain of an amplifier is 50. It means what I am assuming voltage gain of an amplifier is equals to 50. Now as if I know the voltage gain, is it, and you remember that we had this equation HFE is equal AV is equals to HFE multiplied by RC divided by HIE. Now what is that RC? It is a collector resistor. Is it? It is a collector resistor. Now see, gain is known, HFE is known, HIE is known. Known means it is given there, HFE, HIE, and gain you have assumed it is 50. So from that can we calculate value of RC? Yes, it is possible for us to calculate the value of RC. See, things are done. See, we are following the same process as we have followed in last semester. Otherwise, another alternative is already there. We have designed single stage RC coupled amplifier in RC phase shift oscillator. People can follow that process also. See, methods are different. I told you so many times, I have nothing to do with which method you are following. Is it? What I generally check is the proportion of components that you have selected. Whatever values you have calculated doesn't matter. The proportion of those values, is it, like value of R1 and R2 should be in proportion. Value of R1 should be greater than value of R2 at least twice. That's what the proportion I generally check. Then no matter whether your value of R1 is 5k and value of R2 is 1k. Yes, I'll say this is okay and I will give marks to that. Even if you calculate value of R1 is equals to 15k and value of R2 is equals to 5k, then also this is okay for me. Look at the proportion. I need a suitable values, not the exact values that one has to be. No, it's not like that. So see, as we started with this kind of procedure, then we can calculate value of RC. Now after that, VCC is not given, so select VCC. Look at this, VCC is not given, so select VCC. How to calculate VCC? See, now we are following the same process what we had in last semester. So what is VCC? VCC is twice of VO peak to peak. Now look at this, VO peak to peak is given. In my case, VO is equals to twice volt RMS, 2 volt RMS. That's what they given. Let me check. 2 volt RMS. And now what is that RMS value? Look at this, RMS is equals to V peak Generally what do you write for this V peak? V peak means Vm, is it? याला तुम्ही Vm म्हणता ना, Vm by 2, is it, divided by root 2. That's what you write generally. Then what is V peak? Or V peak is equals to what? V RMS multiply by root 2. So in my case it will be 2 multiplied by root 2. That is what my V peak. But what about V peak to peak? V peak to peak is equals to twice of V peak, is it? So this is what my value of V peak. I'll put this value here. So it will be 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by root 2. That's what, this is what my value of V peak to peak, is it? Now this value I will put here, and then my VCC will be, look at this, my VCC will be twice of V peak to peak. This is what value of V peak to peak. No problem at all. So this is how I can select the value of VCC. Now after selection of VCC, we know that VCEQ can be calculated as VCC divided by 2. After that, the voltage across resistor RE can be assumed that 15% of VCC, or some people can assume at 10% of VCC. No issue in that. Either you assume 10% or 15%. You go with the process, whatever you want, you are free to select, because you are the designer, you have full rights to do that. Alright, now see, VC and VRE is done. So if VRE is done, then what I need to calculate RE? To calculate RE, I need voltage across resistor RE and the current flowing through this resistor R, that is I. Now what is this I? It is approximately ICQ. But see, ICQ is not known to us. That is not known. Na? So let us calculate ICQ. How I can calculate ICQ? By applying KVL to put loop. See, whatever I am doing here, that's not new at all, is it? We did this so many times, and that's why I am going in fast mode, is it? So there is no point to write all these values, write all those equations again and again. We did this so many times. I repeat, we did this so many times. It is already there 4 or 5 times. It is there in your notebook, is it? So as a formal, or you can consider as a formal discussion only, designing of an amplifier. Now look at this, ICQ. How can I calculate ICQ? Let me apply KVL to the output loop. That is C is equals to RC, that is collector resistor multiply ICQ plus VCEQ plus VRE. Now look at this VRE, yes it is known. VCEQ, yes it is known. Then this RC, just now you have calculated. VCC is known. From that, calculate ICQ, that is VCC minus VCQ minus VRE divided by value of RC, is it? Now everything is known. Calculate VCEQ and put this value of VCQ here to get value of RE. See, we did the same thing, followed the same thing, and it is done. Now after RE and calculation of RC, remaining two resistors are, yes, it is biasing resistor, that is R1 and R2. Now to calculate those R1 and R2, what the procedure we have followed in last semester, you remember we have stability factor S. We followed the equation S is equals to, you remember stability factor S is equals to 1 plus beta. Beta is nothing but your HFE divided by 1 plus beta RE divided by RB plus RE. That's what it is. Now from that, beta is known, but stability factor, here the stability factor is not given in the design statement. If it is not given, I told you that you assume the value of stability factor is equals to 10. Now HFE, that is beta, is known. RE just now you have calculated, you just need to calculate RB. Now what is that RB? If you calculate value of RB, then RB is R1 in parallel with R2. See, so by that you can calculate value of R1 and value of R2. You can take reference of previous example or just previous semester. Even if you check, you will get the process calculation for R1 and R2. See, R1, R2, RC, RE, 4 registers we have calculated. Now after that, calculation for this CE and calculation for this CC, that is coupling capacitor. How we calculate this CE? We write this equation XC is equals to 1 divided by 2 pi FCE, which is equals to percent of RE, and the things will be done. See, you can calculate the value of CE by that. What about this? Here we calculate CC with 1 divided by FCC, which is nothing but 10% of input impedance Rin. How to calculate this Rin? I know that it is R1 in parallel with R2 in parallel with HIE. This is how I can calculate value of Rin. 10% of Rin will be your XCC. Put this value, but here in this calculation you need to remember that the frequency is 2.5 megahertz, which is a frequency of oscillations. Is it 2.5? Let me check. Frequency is given. Frequency is 2.5 mega, means 2.5 multiplied by 10 raised to 6. That's what the frequency is. It means we are calculating the value of capacitors at oscillating frequency. That's what it is. Right? So this is how I can design the amplifier. After that, selection of transistor. See, how can you select a transistor? Obviously depend on HFE, depend on HIE, depend on IC max. Actually use proper data sheet and go with the selection of transistor. Even the procedure is also known to us. Just check the column HFE and IC max. You will get idea which transistor is suitable for your design. Is that? So this is what amplifier design, which is well known from last 1 year. Is that? Now what is important part in the design of Hartley oscillator is design of feedback network. Look at this amplifier design, we are done. Now let us calculate that feedback components. This is what my oscillator, and this part already we have done. Now concentrate on this part, feedback network. So now how can I go for this feedback component? See, is it an Hartley oscillator? No, Hartley oscillator, for that frequency of oscillations, it is known 1 divided by 2 pi under root C multiplied by L equivalent. So L equivalent is L1 plus L2. Now we have concluded that. Now see, in that case frequency is known. Either I must know the value of capacitor or I must know the value of L equivalent, then only I can proceed with one of the calculation. That's what, one of the value must be known. So as if there is no way to have the value of capacitor or inductor. Actually the aim is to calculate value of capacitor and inductor. Is that? So one value should be known, then only I can calculate the another's value. Let us assume here, let us assume the value of capacitor. Why? Because now we are having two inductors, so it's better to assume the value of capacitor. Is it? So let me assume capacitor C is equals to 0.1 microfarad. So 0.1 microfarad is a suitable value. Is it? Why? Because we are dealing with a small VCC up to 10 volt. Is it? So that's why this 1 microfarad, sorry, 0.1 microfarad is okay with me. I'll go with that. See, I told you that suitable value is really important. So if I assume value of capacitor is equals to 0.1 microfarad, then value of frequency is known, value of capacitor is known, then I can calculate value of L equivalent. Is it not? Let me put the values, it is 2.5 multiplied by 10 raised to 6. This is the value 0.1 multiplied by 10 raised to minus 6. If I calculate this with the calculator, then I'll get the value is 40.5 nano henry. Nano means 10 raised to minus 9. So this is what I'm getting the value of L equivalent. But see, this is the value of L equivalent. It means I'm talking about summation of L1 and L2 is 40.5 nano henry. Is it? This is 40.5 nano henry is the summation of L1 and L2. But I want separate values for L1 and L2. For that, I will consider the Bar-Cousins criteria. And then from Bar-Cousins criteria, we already derived something. What we have derived related to gain, it is this thing A, that is gain of an amplifier, must be greater than L1 divided by L2. That's what we have derived. Now, I can write A multiplied by L2 should be greater than L1. The value of gain multiplied by the value of L2, the second inductor, should be greater than L1. What is the value of gain? This we have assumed it as 50 L2 should be greater than L1. So this is what my condition now. 50 L2 should be greater than value of L1. Okay. Or something like what I can write. To have this, let me write it as L1 is equals to or L1 is in words, let me tell you, L1 should be, now look at this, less 50 L2. Yes, look at this, L1 should be less than 50 L2. This is what equation I have written in words. L1 should be less than 50 L2. Now L1 should be less than 50 L2. It can be then 20 L2, 25 L2, 30 L2, 1 L2, 2 L2, 3 L2. I can put any value from 1 to 49. Is it not? The value of L1 should be less than 50 L2. So 49 L2 is less than L1. 50 L2. Yes. Even 45 L2 is also less than 50 L2. So 1 L2 is also less than 50 L2. So it means I am free to assign any value from 1 to 49. So I will go with L1 equals to 20 L2. This is what L1 is equals to 20 L2. Okay, let me have the screen now. Here, one thing I know, L1 plus L2 is equals to what? What's the value we have calculated? Sorry, I forgot. It is 40.5 nano henry. Look at this. I'll write 40.5 nano henry. This is what my value for L1 plus L2. Is it? Now for that can I put this value of L1 here? Then what I will write 20 L2 plus L2 is equals to 40.5 nano henry. It means 21 L2 is equals to 40.5 nano henry. So L2 will be 40.5 nano means 10 raised to 9 divided by 21. Yes, I can. This is how I can calculate the value of L2 and then put this value of L2 in this equation and go for the calculation of L1 also. This is how I can calculate 2 inductors and 1 capacitor, and this is what design of Hartley oscillator. Things are done. Yes. See why we started this and we concluded in a very fast mode, because it's just an amplifier design, and in feedback component design we just need to assume values for the component and go ahead. So that's why I used to tell my students that designing of Hartley oscillator, Colpitts oscillator, RC phase shift oscillator and the Wien bridge oscillator, so designing of all oscillators is a very simple thing. It is too much simple because eventually we just need to design an amplifier that already we have designed too many times. Is that so? Depending on that design, I'll give you some homework related to that, and then we'll go for this Colpitts oscillator afterwards. Is that so? Let us start with Colpitts oscillator, or let's have this Colpitts oscillator in next session, or maybe in next lecture we'll start with this Colpitts oscillator. So for the time being, we'll stop here. I hope you understand that designing of Hartley oscillator, even it is in a very fast mode, I have covered already 45 or around 15 minutes we spend on that Hartley oscillator. So I'll share whatever I have written here. I'll share everything with you. So we'll stop here, and in next lecture we'll start with Colpitts oscillator. Alright, thank you, thanks a lot.